The melody is pretty well known among the people, but the lyrics is just made out of my head. It is common practice among our people that to put new words in an old song, like just like what I did. The song basically says that I'm from the mountains, I'm by one, and my name is Yedda. I now study in the Department of History, Ljubljana University in the Netherlands. This part is not in the song, of course. And now I have a story of the Aborigines to share with you in this presentation. Since I consider my story the most interesting part, so I'll start with the story and then I'll conclude with what I want to do with my story. I want to tell the story in a very old-fashioned way. That means I don't have PowerPoint and I don't have maps or illustration for you, so I have to be precise, a real challenge for my capacity of storytelling, and we have to be imaginative so that we can have experienced some historical succession. I'm quoting from Johan Huizinga, a Dutch VOC historian, so that we can be allowed to get a sense of historical reality that's a little bit far away from us. A note to make before I go into the story is about my sources. I have used the 3 volumes of the Formosa Encounter, Notes on Formosa Aboriginal Society, a selection of documents from Dutch archive and sources, to write this story. The Formosa Encounter, Volume 1, 2, and 3, refers to the bilingual source publications commissioned by the Slovenian Museum of Formosan Aborigines and prepared by Ljubljana University, my supervisor in Leiden, Natalie Evers, and other people. They come out respectively in 1999, 2000, 2006, and cover periods from 1623 to 1654. In these volumes, excerpts on Formosans are selected from over 3,000 entries on Taiwan in the National Archives in The Hague, and each excerpt is translated into English. Well, these documents might be taken from resolutions. I hope my pronunciation is okay, because my Dutch professor is here. From resolutions made in the Formosan Council meeting, dagelijkse registers kept by the government of Taiwan, Generale Missiva, also written by the government of Taiwan, or Vaslaka, drawn up by lower-ranking officials or sometimes missionaries. I must admit that this source publication has been tremendously helpful. It made my job so much easier, because instead of struggling with paleography, the historian's glorious wound, I would say, I was soon able to get a rough idea of the contents and work out some interesting story. Yesterday we had a presentation on digital historical sources, which gave me the same feelings. Nowadays we're more prepared, or we're better provided with all sorts of help to write history. It is possible that I could reconstruct a rather comprehensive Lonckjouw history by using the different sources, both inside and outside the Formosa encounter that I'm using now. And it's certainly ideal to do so in the future, but I'm only doing it now based on these 3 volumes. And to include other sources will be a future project. The story now, which is phrased rather stylistically Lonckjouw-Dutch Encounter in my title, took place since 1636. At that time, the Dutch VOC company had already established a hold in the Shilajang region in southwest Taiwan and has attempted to expand their power in various directions. Although the China and Japan trade is the main focus of the company itself spends no less effort in the hinterland for the sake of obtaining provisions, land, or souls in terms of mission. And the rumor of gold in the east of Taiwan is also a major drive behind their expansion on the island. It is also this drive that pushes them into the territory of Lonckjouw and makes this encounter happen. Lonckjouw, according to the letter by the governor Hans Boutmans in 1636, consists of 16 villages situated near the southern tip of Formosa. Its territory borders the limits of Bangsa, the present-day Bangshan, to the west, and to the east it is adjacent to Pinao, present-day Binan. Its people are the most civilized among the inhabitants of Formosa. The women as well as men go around dressed. That's what I mean by civilized. Besides, they are ruled by one chief, who rules like a sovereign prince. In short, this is a land of rich resources, and its ruler at that time by the name of Tata, which is my main character in the story, feasts on his table with over 100 people every day, and has more than 1,000 able-bodied fighters in his region. So Lonckjouw is rich, and his ruler is very powerful. So you try to imagine what might happen when the Dutch approach him. So in order to locate the legendary gold in the east of Taiwan, the Dutch VOC sent a Chinese trader to Tata to ask for the conclusion of friendship treaty that would allow them to go to the east via his territory. But during this first encounter in April 1636, Tata appears a little bit lukewarm. He replies to the Chinese trader saying that, well, if the Dutch wants to make peace with me, it's okay, but if not, it's also fine. So he's not really impressed by the Dutch. And then the Chinese, of course, in order to achieve his mission, he presses with the Dutch gift and then a very good friendship proposal. Tata at that time first refuses but then agrees, saying that, well, I will accept the gift and I will accept the proposal, but then you have to send Dutch for us to see because we've never seen a Dutch before. So, the Chinese trader, which is sent by the Dutch, returns with this message and also with an idea that actually, see, even though Tata himself, the ruler, is not interested, but his brother, by the name of Palemeq, is very enthusiastic. So you can see a potential disagreement in the ruler's court is already there. It's possible for the Dutch to use to play against one another, which is what happened. I will reveal the secret of the story. So within 1 month, the Dutch VOC sent a delegation of Dutch people on Tata's request, and in this second encounter, Tata is still apprehensive. On 2 or 3 occasions, he gets himself drunk, which is what we usually do, and then he places his knife against the necks of his Dutch guests, and calling them, "You're spies! You just come to take my territory, you're awful." Even though he's apprehensive, he doesn't really want to make that friendship work. His brother is so enthusiastic, and he continues persuading him to, "Please send me to the Dutch, we have to make friends with them." And then he finally succeeds in making him agree by using a dream. He told his brother that, "I've been having this dream, and the bird in the dream is a good bird, and he told me I have to go." And for indigenous people, dreams are very important. Even a ruler like Tata, he cannot deny the power of the dream. So his brother went to the Dutch. His brother Palemeq's visit goes very well, and before the end of that year, 1636, a formal treaty is sealed between Lonckjouw and the Dutch. And under this treaty, the 2 parties form a joint expedition along the present-day Alangyi Gudao, the Alangyi Ancient Trail, one of the most popular hiking trails nowadays, to the east and to Pinava in early 1638, with actually different agendas. Well, the Dutch obviously want to make friends with Pinava, a powerful indigenous village in the east, and the actually long-time foe of Lonckjouw. Tata has all the way tried to encourage the Dutch to punish his own enemies. So the Dutch go there to make friends to find gold. And Tata go there with him so that he can use the Dutch to punish his enemies, like several villages. Sometimes he succeeds, but sometimes he fails. He goes through the hardest moments in that expedition in Pinava, when his Dutch friend and his deadly foe are happily exchanging friendship, information, gifts, and before they depart from the region, the Dutch also leave several staff members in Pinava to secure the friendship and to continue searching for gold. In this moment, the apple of the eye, or the eye of the apple, in the Dutch, the apple in the eyes of the Dutch is already chief model from Pinava rather than Tata, who makes that expedition work for them. So, what happened? There is a twist. Several years later, one of the Dutch VOC members that are left in Pinava is murdered, and the Dutch send an expedition. But then, when the expedition reaches Lonckjouw, they need supplies which Tata refuses, and he also refuses to contend local hostilities that were caused by his people against the company. And this is considered by the company as a serious violation of the previous treaty which they sealed in 1636. So they send another expedition to Tata. And then this expedition really creates a lot of problems and wrecks the whole region. And the most serious problem within this bias against Dutch, and he's always obedient, which the Dutch does. They agree to make him. And then by knowing this, Tatar finally, willingly, goes to the Dutch and seal another treaty of 12 articles and saying, you are my governor and I'm just one of your subjects. So, and that happens in 1645. So within these 10 years, you see how Tatar responds to the Dutch in various ways. And he makes every decision, in every occasion, exercising his leadership in different ways. Now, what do I want to do with this story of indigenous peoples? Well, obviously, I want to tell it. Being indigenous myself and being a member from the Lonckjouw region, which is present-day Hanchun, I just want to let people know there are things happen in my places. There are many indigenous actors in contemporary or early modern histories, and they suffer, I would say, if not more than, but certainly as much invisibility as is in Eastern Europe, maybe. And so this is my personal wish to uncover as many as possible. And second, with this story, I would like to show that indigenous peoples in Taiwan are not people without history. Here I'm quoting Eric Wolf, the anthropologist's 1982 classic, Europe and People Without History. In that book, he draws case studies from the Americas, Africa, Asia, and the Pacific to show that before the Dutch, or before the European advent, local people were already involved in their own systems. There is already a rich dynamism going on in the local region. For example, the Europeans were never penetrated into the network, commercial networks in India or South Asia without the help of local brokers and middlemen. So you could, and in this story of Lonckjouw, you could see that the dynamism was already there among different villages and inside the ruling family. That's basically what made the Dutch use to against them. Well, there is a history before the Dutch, before the European expansion. And I also intend to tell what kind of history these people have by using the concept of agency. Actually, the study of Indigenous Agency is not a new story. There are already a lot of case studies done in other contexts. North America, Rachel White, South America, Michael Alves, Laura Matthew, in South Africa, Sheila Marks, or in the Pacific, Vincent Diaz. So I'm just trying to use this Lonckjouw story to say what kind of agency Taiwan can offer to the general discussion of this idea and how Taiwan can contribute to that, academic community. And finally, with this Lonckjouw story, which I think, and this actually comes to me last night after I listened to so many wonderful presentations. I have to say, I thank you very much because I learned so much here. With this Lonckjouw story, I also wish to experiment with the possibilities that lie within Western sources. In addition to analyzing how Formosa or Taiwan was perceived and represented in these sources, official reports, correspondences, or travelogues, or how the Western societies construct this knowledge of Taiwan on the western rim of the Pacific, which is itself very interesting. One can also work out, based on the very same sources, how the Westerners, the Spanish, the French, the Dutch, the English, who produced the sources, were imagined and acted upon by the indigenous inhabitants, who they thought they had pinned down either in reality or in writing. As far as indigenous history in Taiwan is concerned, I will put the Chinese and the Japanese too in the list of sources producers. And with the note that, of course, they are not Western but Asian societies. This is where Anne Stoller, a historian, comes in. Her study of the 19th century Dutch colonial archives on plantation in Indonesia exposes the uncertainties and anxieties that plague both written documents and colonial rule. And like her, I also see the subversive potentials in the Dutch sources that I work on. And I see how these written figures, such as Chief Tata, his separatist brother Lonckjouw, can be addressed as the subject of a discourse and may have new stories. Finally, this essay. Oh, okay.
Okay, thanks very much for kind of bringing these kind of